Hey guys, I'm here today with Coach Graydon, and I'm going to be showing you guys how we deal with the knee drop position. Understand that there are 4 scenarios that we need to be competent in if we want to have a good open guard. Graydon, can you leave your hand to the camera? First scenario, we have to be competent when our opponent is on 2 feet like I am right now. Second scenario, we have to be competent when our opponent elects to drop a single knee to the floor, keep one knee up into the knee drop position. Third situation, we need to be competent when our opponent takes 2 knees on the floor, they look to pass from here. And then the fourth scenario is actually the split squat, where he's going to have to learn how to be competent, where I split his 2 legs with my leg, and I come in and I'm ready to start trying to work my guard passing game. This week's lessons are all going to be about that second scenario we looked at, when our opponent elects to drop down to a knee drop. Now there might be a few situations where our opponent elects to do this, where they feel out of balance, or they want to pull back and break some submissions. Regardless of the reason, we need to have a good method to deal with the situation. The first method we're going to look at is a lapel single, and just as a quick preview, all of our attacks in the knee drop position, or most of our attacks, are going to be focused on the lead leg. That's the leg that our opponent presents to us. They kind of hide behind that lead leg. The rear leg is back and away, their head is up and away, their hands are in front. So most of our attacks are generally centered on getting control of and attacking this leg. Okay? So let's take a look. So we might be in the knee drop scenario. For instance, if I'm playing a collar sleeve guard like we studied last week, if we're playing a collar sleeve guard like I studied last week, and Graydon feels the threat of his head being pulled down lower than his hips, he might elect to drop his hips so he can once again bring his head higher than his hips and be in a safer position. Okay, that's just one reason. Another one, maybe in spider guard. Maybe I have spider guard like we looked at in week 1. And I'm using spider guard to good effect. I'm throwing him out of balance, moving him around side to side, and he feels like he's being tossed around like a small boat on an ocean. So he elects to drop to gain some stability. So that's another reason why somebody might do this. Another reason somebody might go into this knee drop, down on 2 knees. Maybe he started on 2 knees to avoid maybe the leg lock game, for instance, and now he wants to gain some mobility. So in order to gain mobility, he's going to step up with one leg, and he's going to get ready to start trying to pass my guard from here. So however we ended up in that scenario, we end up in the situation where he has that lead knee up and the back knee down. And once again, most of our attacks will be focused on the lead leg in this scenario. And let's start looking at some of those attacks now. Number 1, we're going to look at a 2-on-1 lapel single. Okay? So Graydon goes to step up, just like so. He's probably going to, a lot of people step in the inside position. If he steps in the outside position, it's very easy to just go through and take an Ashigurami. Okay? But let's say he steps up to the inside position. So what I'm going to do here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to block the knee to stop his initial knee cut pass. And then I'm going to go through elbow deep from the outside, elbow deep, and feed my hand through. My right hand is going to open and feed his lapel to my left hand, and I'm going to double up on it. So I take a 2-on-1 grip. Can you move your shoulder back in the way? So I've got 2 hands on the lapel right next to each other, and I want them right next to each other as high on the lapel as possible. If I'm low on the lapel, Graydon can posture up, and I don't have very good control of his head. I want to control Graydon's head with this as much as possible. So I'm going to take a grip about halfway up the lapel or higher and feed that in. Now from here I have 2 options. I can either tuck my foot in tight to my hip, my right foot here coming in tight, and I can rock up to my right knee. Or maybe mobility is a little more difficult for you and you struggle to just rock up to your knee like that. You can briefly take your hand off the lapel and post. And now I can heist up to my knee and go back to the lapel. Now as I go to stand up, if he stays on his knee, I'm just going to elevate and drive him over. Okay? Most people though are going to stand up with you. Just like so. Now from here, I can either try to take him straight backwards immediately and dump him down. But if he's resisting, I might first need to pull him forward, break his hands down to the mat, and now when he fights his way back up, we go in the other direction. And I take a sweep. Okay, so that's our 2-on-1 lapel single. It's one of my favorites. One of the strongest sweeps you have against the knee drop position. Let's look at another scenario where I go into the 2-on-1 lapel. Get my grips. And Greg elects to knee slide through, like he's trying to pass my guard. He's gonna force me to my back, and I'm down here. Here, it's very tough for me to sit up like I did before, so we have to sit up in a very different way. I'm gonna use my legs to force Greg's body off of me, toward the camera, to get his weight off me. Okay? Let's go. So I dump his weight off me like so. Now from here, I'm gonna scissor my two legs so my hips go from facing the ceiling to facing the floor. And now I can start to climb up to my knees. Now from here, we can go to start stand. I put the hands to the floor, and we. Okay, so that's, again, one of my favorites, the lapel single. Let's start looking at some other attacks that I have on this. The lapel single works beautifully when Greg steps up to the inside position nice and close. Now it's very easy for me to get elbow deep on this leg. What if he's playing further back and away? What if I'm here and he steps up to my toe line? It's not easy to get a single now, he's kind of far away. So when he's back further away, I'm still going to focus my attack on the lead leg, but I'm going to do so with an ankle pick. I'm going to grip down here, okay? So from this scenario, I could take either a straight lapel grip or a cross lapel grip, and I could do it with either side. It really doesn't matter. There's a sense in that you can't really miss, or you can't go wrong here, okay? So I'm going to take my grip on the lapel. I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to seize his ankle, wrist deep, behind the ankle. From here, I windshield wipe my feet out to the side, and I start to push with the lapel. When I push the lapel, and I push his head over his back knee, this leg becomes weighted, and this leg becomes very light. With this leg being lighter, it's going to be very easy for me to pull that ankle out. So I go through, I take my grips, I push his weight back, pull, and now I can start to stand up, and I can start to pull him down here, and take my sweep with an ankle pick. So we can attack the lead leg with a lapel single if he's close. We can attack the lead leg with an ankle pick if he's further away. Now both of these techniques work very well if he's back on his heel. Come up to a knee drop. He's on his heel. You'll have some people who take a knee drop position, but they ride forward. It's going to be very hard for me to now pick the ankle. There's a lot of weight on that leg. Okay, so we're going to be going into some other attacks now. Another attack that I can go into, for instance, is an Ashigarami. Okay. Actually, let me save that one for last, because the Ashigarami is what we're going into next week. That'll make a good segue. So I could go, for instance, into a hook sweep. This one's getting a little trickier, but from here I'm going to take a lapel, and I'm going to go shin to shin. Now I'm going to use the lapel to start to pull his weight forward, and as he comes forward, I'm going to extend my left leg, and I'm going to force his ankle up, and I'm going to take a half guard, or take a hook right here, okay, an inside hook. Now from here, I'm going to feed in my right butterfly hook, so I make what I call an A-frame. My legs kind of make the shape of an A right here, stepping on my own knee, and my inside leg back heels. So this A-frame makes it so my inside leg back heeling makes it so he can't pull his leg away from us. My butterfly hook in front, and the shin that runs across the hip makes it so he can't drive into me. Okay, so I control distance in both directions. This is a little bit, we're almost going out right. So we're here, he takes a knee drop position, and he's leaning forward on that foot. I take a lapel, I pull, and I extend, and I pull him into that half guard. Now from here, I'll have to put in my butterfly hook, pulling his head down, and I'm going to go through, I'm going to take an over the back belt grip. So I actually have Greg's belt right here, okay? Now from here, if he's trying to drive in, I just want to make sure I don't let him take face, okay? So whether he starts reaching for my head for a cross face or whatever he's trying to do, I'm going to look to take this hand, I'm going to look to bring it in. Now from here, this belt grip is going to pull his head down to the floor, forward. My left hand, or my left leg, pulls on the mat, and I'm just going to elevate with my right leg, right here. Now from here, I can either look to go find his second ankle and take it out and sweep and come up on top there. Or I start to sweep out, he bases again. Or I could also use my left foot to drive up to my left knee, and I could start to kick and elevate from there as well. We're going to look at the hook sweep in a lot more detail near the end of the open guard chapter. Weeks number 10 and 11 of our open guard are going to be all about hook sweeps. It's one of my favorite ways to sweep from open guard. Anytime I have an opponent who's down on their two knees. Okay? I'll show that one again really briefly. So again, I take my straight lapel grip and I go shin to shin. Now my goal with this shin to shin is to get him off his foot and put him down to his knee. The way that I do that is I pull on the lapel and I start to elevate and kick the ankle out, and then I go and I find the knee here. Now from here, I take my inside position with my butterfly leg. I start to pull him down. I'm looking for the sleeve grip, controlling here. So the two grips I want are a sleeve grip here, and then ideally I want to control the hips by grabbing the belt, and I want to control his posture by making it an over the back belt grip. So I'm going to pull his head down, reach over the back, and get a belt grip right here. Now I control the hips with the belt grip, and my arm over his shoulder controls his posture. If he tries to posture up, he can only posture that much. This makes it very easy for me to start to drop my left foot and rotate from here. I go from an inside hook and I drop my left foot, and I use this to start to pull his head down to the floor, and I want his hips high. For all good hook sweeps, I want graded up in this almost tripoded position with the head lower than the hips. Now from here, I start to drive off my left leg and elevate. And we have a beautiful hook sweep to top position. Again, we're going to look at the hook sweep in a lot of detail in the future. There's another good method. We can use that shoelace to shoelace breakdown by forcing his knee to the mat and taking an inside hook. And we can go right into our half guard game. Okay? Up on your knee drop. So he goes to his knee drop. I once again take the same lapel. I go to ankle, I pull and I extend, and I take my inside hook. Now from here, I could look to pummel in to my underhook, and now we're into our same half guard game that we looked at for a few moments. I can make my inside hook. Here, bending the leg, shifting in. Roll through sweeps. We have wrestling sweeps. We have back takes. We have lapel signals. Everything that we have from the half guard. Okay? Might be a good review exercise for you to pause the video and just try to think about some of your half guard techniques. Alright, last. Let's go into our Ashigarami. It's going to be very similar to our shoelace to shoelace breakdown. Once again, he's up, he's got his weight leaning forward. So once again, it's not going to be very practical for me to go and start picking ankles. It might even be hard for me to go into a single leg if he's got no space between his hamstring and his calf. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to take a grip on the lapel. It could either be a straight grip here, or a cross grip here, or a cross grip here. It really doesn't matter. But once again, I'm going to start to pull him in. And I'm going to start to elevate, just like so, and extend. And I get my Ashigarami here. Okay? Give me the other leg. So he's going to step up. We once again take our grip on the lapel. The lapel allows me to start pulling him forward, getting his weight off of his foot, so I can elevate. So with my 2 feet in the inside position, and his knee off the floor, we have everything we need to go into the Ashigarami. And next week we're going to look at the Ashigarami in a lot more detail. So I go through, we're playing, I stop his knee cut maybe, and I go through and I take my grip on the lapel. Now I start to scoot in, I'm going to pull his head forward, and I'm going to start to extend my leg. Now from here I'm going to grab his calf and pull his ankle down to my hip. And we have a situation where I have my 2 legs surrounding one of his legs. Now I just put my foot into the hip. I get in tight with my hips close to his hips, and we have a good Ashigarami. Now if he's still on his knee, it's going to be hard to rotate and force his knee to turn out enough to get a breakdown. So what I'll do here is I'll take an Achilles grip just to control the ankle, so I punch all the way through underneath. And my left shin comes down and I face this way. So that the ridge of my shin, the very front of my shin, faces directly into the back of his knee. Now from here, I'm going to look to extend and push my knee into his knee to force him down to the mat. Now from here, we're in a double seated position where I'm seated and Graydon's seated. I don't want to go down to my shoulder if I want to get on top, so I'm going to stay up with my elbow or even my hand. Now he just got knocked down, he doesn't want to stay up. If I neglect to control the leg and I go to get up and Graydon goes to get up together, go ahead. A lot of times, you'll lose the fight for top position. So anytime you're in double seated position, you want to win the fight for top position, I recommend controlling the leg. You can do so with either gi pants, or if it's no gi, you can take the grip right on the ankle. In the gi, I recommend the gi pants. So now, when I go to get up and Graydon goes to get up, he can't get up, and I can always win the fight for top position. So, thank you, Coach Graydon, for helping me film these today. So, a quick recap. One of my favorite ways to deal with an opponent from the knee drop position is almost always going to be this 2-on-1 lapel single. Okay? If he stays right where he is, I can heist up. We saw if he comes to, I can go belly down and come up. If he's further away, we're once again going to look at coming in and attacking that lead leg, this time with ankle breaks. We could attack the lead leg by pulling it forward and making an A-frame on the lead leg. And now I can go into hook sweeps that are centered on this leg. We saw that I can pull him in to a half guard scenario where now I've got complete control of this leg. I can go into an outside hook now, and once again we're sweeping and controlling on that leg. Or, as I showed lastly, we can come in, pull him in, and I can go into Ashigarami on this leg. Once again, attacking and controlling that lead leg. So we have a lot of good different options for you to play with and explore. But if you have an opponent who takes that position, your first thought should be, how can I attack that leg? What is the best method for me to attack that leg? Is it Ashigarami? Is it a hook sweep? Is it a lapel single, an ankle pick? The circumstances are, whether how close he is to you, whether he's close or far, whether he's back at his heel or forward on the ball of his foot. These are things that will dictate which technique you should use, but it's all going to come down to that same thing. How can I best exploit that lead leg that is leaving out dangling in front of me? Okay? So I hope this video is useful for your studying. Maybe it'll be useful for you drilling with your friends, or drilling with your training partners, or what have you, just reviewing this stuff. But I hope you guys are starting to build a good open guard here. We saw how I can go into Ashigarami out of this knee drop position, and that's going to lead into next week's topic, which is all about the Ashigarami, and sweeping from there, submitting from there, controlling with it, etc. So make sure you guys come back next week for a good study on the Ashigarami. Thank you, Greg.